Greetings, and welcome back to the Multimedia Chronicles, our in-depth look at Robotech on home video. This time around, we're actually going to take a look at its history on VHS and Laserdisc. Now, as I mentioned before, I'm pretty sure that Robotech holds the record as the one anime series that has had more re-releases on the various home video formats available over the years. If not the most re-releases of any show, anime or otherwise. It's really quite staggering just how many times Robotech has been put out on home video. Not just DVD, but VHS and Laserdisc, which is what we're going to look at today on the Multimedia Chronicles. Now, before we get into the history of Robotech on VHS, Laserdisc, and DVD, I realize I completely forgot to do something last time. Kind of broke from tradition. Usually when I talk about an 80s cartoon, I at least give you a look at the opening titles, don't I? And I didn't do that last time. Oh, bad me, bad me. So without any further ado, let's take a look at the opening titles of Robotech. Now, this is like one of the most epic opening title sequences ever, and it should give you a pretty fair idea of just how grand the scale was for this series. Has a great instrumental theme song, which was quite refreshing because a lot of theme songs in the 80s tended to have cheesy lyrics and, you know, be kind of silly. But this was just pure orchestral epicness, which was great. And this is the original opening title sequence from Robotech. This is the one that aired on television, specifically the one that incorporates footage from all three generations. So it sort of gives you an overall look at the scope of the series. Later DVD releases had generation-specific openings depending which segment of the saga you were watching, but we'll get into that later. Or maybe not, because I just got into it, and that's basically the extent of it. So okay, without any further ado, here's the opening titles of Robotech. Oh yeah, that's just pure awesome right there. I swear, I would get chills up my spine every time I heard that theme start up and knew that I was about to sit down and watch an all-new chapter of Robotech, the latest installment in the saga. It was huge. There was a few things that my friends and I were obsessed with as kids. Robotech was one of them. Doctor Who was one that I obsessed over, and one of my friends obsessed over, and my other friends just kind of had passing familiarity with. So that wasn't as big for my overall group of friends. But Robotech was, and Monty Python, and Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Those were the three right there, which we would discuss and quote to each other endlessly. Yeah, sorry, my wrist was cracking. Okay, so Robotech on video. As I mentioned briefly in the last one, I think it holds the record for being the single most re-released anime series on home video ever. Now, when it was originally airing on television, they actually started releasing it on VHS. Specifically, this. This is the first volume. Now, what's the problem with these? Well, they have nice artwork on the cover. I mean, and it's a nice design. And they were actually the old big box styles, so they would look pretty impressive on your shelf. However, if we look at all 3 volumes here, they would only put out 1 episode per tape. That's right, 1 episode per tape, and each tape cost about $20. So you're paying $20 per episode, and they expected you to shell out that much for all 85 episodes. Well, needless to say, they didn't sell particularly well, I'm guessing, because they only did those 3 volumes. That was it. 1 episode per tape? I don't think so. So, yeah, that didn't do too well. I mean, I liked the cover design, actually, and I thought, wow, imagine if they did do all 85 episodes. So you'd have 85 big boxes filling your shelves. That would just be epic. So, that one didn't take off. So a few years later, they put out this series, Robotech the Macross Saga. 6 volumes, each one containing 6 episodes from the Macross Saga. And you could get them individually or as a boxed set. Now, actually, I don't know if it was a boxed set or if it was just all 6 volumes sold together as a package and thus discounted. Anyway, I was really excited when I first heard about that. I thought, oh, awesome, I can just get like the whole first generation in one fell swoop. Now, this was long before the days of TV shows on DVD, well, even before DVD. About 20 years before DVD. So it was a big deal to be able to get just that much of a show on VHS, because it was just never done at the time, or very rarely. But here was the thing. 6 episodes per tape, yes, but heavily edited into movie-style compilations. If all 6 episodes were left complete and uncut, the videos would have run about 130 minutes. As it stood, the way they edited them, 100 minutes. That's right. So they cut about 30 minutes of material out to incorporate them into movie-style compilations. Now, as near as I can figure, I actually had the first volume because it was the closest thing you could get at the time to the complete series. It was the most that had been released at the time. So I had the first volume, I watched it, and I was just so appalled at how badly they'd hacked it up, I didn't bother getting the rest of them. I figured, you know what, I'll just wait. I'll wait for them to do a proper release and get that. But it seemed like they basically kept all the action sequences and cut out a lot of the character stuff, which was unfortunate because to me, even as a kid, it was the character stuff that kept me coming back more than the action sequences because I cared about those characters. I wanted to, you know, share their experiences and such. And so they went and cut all that stuff out for the video releases. Like, what the hell's going through their heads? It's not like they couldn't have used a slightly longer tape to fit the additional material in. I don't know. I guess they're just trying to save money on tape stock. Anyway, a few years after that, they finally got it right. And they started putting out this series. They sort of got it right. They're still being kind of cheap about it. Instead of 1 episode per tape, we now have 2 episodes per tape. Now, I do apologize. I don't have all the covers for these, but you can see some of them anyway. So they put out 2 episodes per tape, except for the final tape, which was 3 episodes, because it wouldn't divide evenly into 2. So 42 volumes. 42 VHS volumes comprising the entire run of Robotech. Yeah. I know there are people out there who have them, and I'm sure they look very impressive on their shelves. But this time, at least, they completed the series. So this was the first time ever the complete series was available. Then, we got, I should mention the Sentinels, Robotech 2 The Sentinels, the never-completed sequel series. Well, that one did come out on video. There was actually 3 releases that I remember. Basically the same content, just re-released. Actually, no, not the same content, because one of them, the 2 later releases contained deleted scenes. There was some additional footage found on like a work print tape, like just an old VHS tape, really crappy quality. But they cleaned it up as best as they could and threw it on as a bonus. So you could see some additional footage that had been completed. It was basically a promo reel that had been done for the Sentinels to shop it around. and it contained some additional footage and different actors doing the voices of the characters. So that was pretty cool. That was the version that I had. I think I had this one, if I remember correctly. I no longer have it, but yeah, I'm pretty sure that was the one. Anyway, now, backtracking a little bit. Okay, so just to get into a little more detail, the company releasing the VHS releases of the entire Robotech series was Family Home Entertainment. Family Home Entertainment did a lot of releases of 80s cartoons and stuff, and I have or had a lot of their stuff, and still have some of their collector's items, but or ones that are personally significant to me. But when they released the Macross Saga in heavily edited form on VHS, they didn't release the other two generations. So enter Palladium Books. Palladium Books, a company that normally did role-playing games, if I remember correctly, but they got the rights to do the video releases of the second and third generations. So they put out the second and third generations on VHS. I must apologize, I don't have a lot of pictures of the second generation. They seem to be rarer, but a lot of pictures of the third generation. So, pretty cool. Sorry, the garbage truck is right outside there. If you're wondering what all that racket is. Yeah, I always like the covers on the on these because they have basically paintings and such, and I always just thought they looked really cool. I always wanted to get those releases just to have those generations complete and uncut, and these were complete and uncut. They would put, I think, 3 episodes per tape or something like that, 3 or 4 per tape. So it was nice that they were at least uncut, whereas the Macross Saga tapes weren't. Then around the same time, I don't remember the exact time frame for all of these, I just remembered what the releases were. Around the same time, Streamline Pictures started putting out this, the Perfect Collection. Now the Perfect Collection was very, very interesting, because they were releasing 3 separate series, much like the comic books were done back in the day. 3 separate series, 1 for each generation. And what it would have is 2 episodes of Robotech and the corresponding 2 original uncut Japanese episodes of the original Japanese shows. So for example, you'd have the first 2 episodes of Macross, followed by first 2 episodes of Robotech, followed by the first 2 episodes of Macross. So you could compare the differences between the 2. And then the Japanese ones are subtitled in English. So pretty cool, pretty cool. Unfortunately, they never actually finished releasing all of the Perfect Collections. They got fairly far into them. But once again, they would have been fairly sizable sets because you're looking at 2 episodes, essentially 2 episodes per tape. Just 2 episodes in 2 different versions. But very cool idea, and I was really glad to see them do that. Another set that I always wanted to get, but never did. But a cool idea, a cool idea. So then, finally, that's the end of the VHS releases. We've only gotten to the end of VHS, okay? Then shortly after, around the same time that Family Home Entertainment was releasing the 42-volume complete series set, they were also putting out Laserdisc editions. Now, I had these. I had the Laserdiscs. Well, specifically, I had the... There was 4 episodes per disc, because that's all you could fit. Laserdisc had a very set running time. It was much like tape, except it was disc in terms of running time. So you had 2 hours of space maximum on a disc, and that was it. So basically they put 4 episodes per disc, which worked out nicely for the Macross Saga, because the Macross Saga was 36 episodes, so you end up with 9 4-episode volumes, which I had. And they were great. I loved them. I watched them over and over again. I had them when I was in university. I showed them to all my friends in residence, got them all hooked on Robotech. It was great. So then they released the second generation. Once again, I can't find a lot of pictures from the second generation. I don't know why second-gen pictures are so rare. Maybe because they had lower print runs. I don't know. The second generation was the least popular of the 3 generations. Most people are either hardcore fans of the first or third generations, it seems to be. There are fans of the second generation. I mean, I don't have a problem with it. I enjoy it. But I do confess I prefer the first and the third, especially the first. The Macross Saga was the best by far. So yeah, then we had the Laserdisc editions. And so I bought those because that, at the time, was the best quality available. And It took us a long time to go through all that history, didn't it? I guess this is going to be as long as the Voltron one. Silly me. I guess I really thought I could cram all that into 10 minutes. Yeah, apparently not. Alright, so that covers the history of Robotech on VHS and Laserdisc. Next time, I promise, we'll finally get into the DVD releases. And you thought there were a lot of VHS releases? Well, there were. But there's quite a few DVD releases too. It's kind of crazy, and I can understand why people might be confused. So next time, Robotech on DVD, I promise. And then we'll wrap this thing up and get on to some other stuff. Alrighty. Till next time, thanks for watching, and sayonara.